Testing, testing, testing. Okay, that's good. Right. Hello, everybody. Okay, that's working. Right. What are we doing today? Today, we are raising money, as with yesterday and as we will be tomorrow, for Mermaid Charity, who help trans youth in the UK. And we are today doing some games design. So, as is the way of things, I will briefly cover what we have done since last time we were here. So first things first, we have started writing magic. So, with magic, we've kind of established in kind of our lore what the 4 kinds of magic are, which classes tap into what. That there are 3 kinds of spells, rituals, and rites. Preparing spells, spell slots, casting spells, all the general spell rules you know. We've added a bit about rites and psychic powers. I really need to change the tile there because it isn't really a saving throw. So let's briefly cover some of the things. So generally magic works the same as in D&D. The big difference is obviously psychic powers work differently to spells. You have rites, rituals, and spells. A spell and a psychic power basically are equivalent. A ritual is only available to the full casters, so that's your wizard analog, cleric analog, druid analog, bard analog. And they will not have the ability to be cast or ritual cast. It's just they're longer cast. They don't require a spell slot. That what makes them big. And then you have rites. A rite is what we're calling a party challenge. It's where everyone has to make skill rolls to try and beat a group target, and if successful, the rite occurs, and it's kind of a somewhat powerful spell that requires the group to work together to perform it. And the reason for that is that we've started working on classes, and of course the first class is Arcanist, which is the wizard analog. So at that point I kind of needed to know how making spells work. So obviously it's going to be a ritual caster, obviously it can cast rites. I have some thoughts, we'll get onto that in a bit. In catching up, basically the only other main thing we've kind of cleaned up some areas, gone back and as bits come up. But basically you now have humans. You have everyone has 10 traits. So you have humans, we have dwarfs, we have halflings, we have orcs, we have ooze people, we have dragonborn, we have giant kin, we have kobolds, we have avians, mammalians, sun-touched, and waterborn. How the beastkin work is basically I've broken into aquatic and amphibious reptiles, mammals, and flying creatures. Then we have the Fae, so you have elves, centaurs, changelings, fairies, sprites and pixies, gnomes, goblins, merfolk, and satyr. And then we have talking animals that are awakened, insect people, plant people. So, as you could tell, we have done quite a bit, because each one's required 10. There's a lot of shared traits, multiple ancestries of, for example, powerful builds, or specific keen senses, or innate magic. I don't think that's a bad thing. Every ancestry having 10 entirely unique traits would be somewhat tedious. So we're now up to templates. So to give a quick overview of how this is working, so basically when you create your character, you pick an ancestry, at least one. If you have a mixed ancestry, you'll pick more than one, and you get to pick between them which traits you use, and then you have 3 ancestry features out of the list of 10 that you can pick if you're of one ancestry, or between the shared. Basically, all the lists get added to a pool if you're mixed ancestry, but you're still limited to 3 choices of this larger pool. And then at 5th level you get an extra 2. So by level 5 you'll have 5 ancestry features. How a template works is they're slightly different. A template mandates that you have a ancestry before you pick a template. The template then will modify certain aspects of your ancestry. And effectively, to pick a template, you give up one of your ancestry features. This is known as the ancestry feature cost. And then you can use ancestry, your limited number of ancestry features, to instead pick template options. So the one we've currently been working on is altered. The altered are people who are either created or modified by artificial means. So you could be a wizard, has hit you with a spell that has altered you in some way, or you are Frankenstein's monster, or you are a lab experiment. It's you were one thing, you have been altered into something else. And so that's the current one. Every ancestry feature originally had 10. Sorry, every ancestry had 10 ancestry features. Templates get 15. Between 10 and 15 options. Just to try and make it that if you did pick a template, you would be slightly more unique. Currently, I'm trying to work out the final thing to give altered, because that'll make you around 15. And then we can start planning constructed. What I'll do today, I think, is if I can plan out features, it'll speed up the process. Um, so far for altered, my current thoughts are we do something about the wounded condition. And we do something about having memories of the past. This has gone a bit sci-fi in my head because I think about remembering memories of the past and I'm just thinking of Grunt from Mass Effect 2. And then something to do with the wounded condition. Um, that's one thing we could maybe do with the past memories, is another suggestion. Hmm. Already have already make it that you don't need to sleep, drink, breathe. We have resistance to poisons. We have hmm. Maybe do something about resisting the first condition that they take in a battle. Do I already have an ancestry that does that? I'll find out. Psychic hunters. I have tools that can deal with it outside of combat. I don't know if I have someone that can deal with it in combat. I could give them relentless endurance. Oh, God. That's a thought we could do. But does that take away from the orcs? Yeah, because these cardi orcs think it's to run its endurance. What? I don't actually know if I have done something like that. I thought I did. This is a problem. I thought I made an ability that did that. Because it would make it so much. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6. Okay, they're still fine. Yeah. Ba 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 bum ba 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 bum ba do do do. Adapted for extremes, bioluminescence. I don't think the Feyborn. How do I do it? Maybe look at timeless souls. The altered. things. Do I seriously not have the ability that I thought I did? I don't think Awakened will have it. Bugs maybe. I'm No, apparently we have not had such an ability. What if we... So the point of the wounded condition thing is to stave off you dying. The point of this thing will be staving off you. How goes games design? It goes alright. We are currently struggling over a specific bit. We have got all the ancestries done. We're now on to templates. Oh, that's one thing I forgot to do. I've got to talk about what changes I'm considering for our wizard analog. It'll give me a chance to consider how best to do this thing for altered. So wizard analog, what I am currently considering doing is, because currently wizard is a bit, in my personal opinion, boring and poorly designed, because your most interesting feature you get at level 1, which is where you get your spell slots back, and everything else is like, oh yeah, you get some free spell cast. It's like, cool, I get to cast more spells. This makes the class so much more interesting to play. So what I want to do is I want to take spell schools and make them important. So they will be a core class feature rather than a subclass based thing. The subclasses can still exist. The way I would view it is like the core class feature is you getting your bachelor's. The subclass is you getting a master's. The subclasses can exist. It's just the core class feature actually makes it more interesting. So, for example, arcane recovery will be, you can recover, instead of you can just recover spell slots, it's you can get free castings of your spell list. This will hopefully allow that to happen. The other thing I want to do is the other thing I'm considering is, because basically I like the idea that every caster is a prepare spell caster, because that way it makes casters interesting, because what it means is you're not just sat there going, okay, here's my combat spells, that's all I'm good at, and then you're sat there going, cool, That's all you're good at. What if we need this unique utility? Oh, I can't do it. Like, if a player feels uncomfortable being a prepared spellcaster, that's fine. They just have a pre-made spell list. My personal recommendation is they have a pre-made, here is a combat spell list, here is an out of combat spell list. So that they have utility throughout the game, rather than just in a specific aspect of the game. But this, of course, even more points out the problem Wizard has, which is every other prepared spellcaster, so Druid, Cleric, other classic examples to compare against, they are prepared spellcasters and they just get to cast from their class's spell list. Wizard, however, has an extra step, because Wizard goes, you're not allowed to prepare from your class spell list, you're allowed to prepare from your spell book, which may have some of your class spell list inside. So to make spell casting more interesting, what I'm considering doing is, first thing is going, a wizard can add any spell in the game to their spell book. And if it is in the spell book, it is a wizard's spell. When you level up, you can only add spells from your class list. So the free spells you get from your class list, but what you earn in gameplay and what your game guide gives you can be from any spell list. If it is of your spell school and on your class list, it is the cheapest price. If it is from your spell school and not from your class list, or is from your class list, it is a medium price. If it is not from your spell school and not from your class list, it is the most expensive to add. So there is still a cost to getting this extra ability, and it still requires that the game guide remember to give you this ability. But the key thing, the key aspect, is a wizard gets some utility, and they have now a reason that they have to deal with the spellbook stage. Also, it makes the spellbook more important. It makes it important to copy your spellbook so that you've got a safe copy. It makes it important to do all that stuff, because if you want to prepare and you lose your book that has like 10 very nice cleric spells in it, then yeah, they're lost, because you can remember the wizard spells to replace, but you won't be able to remember you've got to kind of you if you want to have lots of spells from other classes, you've got to keep that book safe. It's not waterproof unless you make it so. That's currently where Wizard is going. Wizard is going, schools are going to be more important, and therefore and we're going to put more importance on the spellbook. Effectively, wizards can be the most powerful casters in the game. Can is the important word. But also, hopefully, this makes them more interesting. Because currently the thing is, it's like, okay, what does a wizard have? Well, they have subclasses based on their schools. Cool. Do I have to focus on that school? No. I'm still going to cast Fireball. Awesome. Cool. You still cast Fireball. Does your class give you anything interesting? I get my spell slots back and some spells for free. Cool. Cool, that's not interesting. But you can prepare, right? Only what's in my spellbook, for fuck's sake. It's like, oh. Like, a lot of it is wizards are a legacy of the earliest days of D&D. But that's why I'm kind of doing these things. It's like, okay, either the way I look at this is either the legacy has to go, or the class has to, either it has to lean into the legacy in an interesting way, or the legacy needs to die. And for wizards, I think I've come up with a way of going. The legacy can stay. We're just changing what the legacy means. And so I want to go. Does that mean they're still effectively an arcane spellcaster? It's like, yeah, they're still an arcane caster. They're just an arcane caster who really knows mathematics and geometry. The legacy isn't dead, it's just been made to be a bit more interesting. You're still a spellcaster, you still want to, go to the long lost tomb to find the spell book of the long dead wizard and get that information. But the key thing is you aren't. The spell book isn't a limiting force because it has always been a limiting thought. It's we've removed the limitations to give you something interesting and unique in your gameplay. Because the other thing to remember is, so there are a couple of things we're changing with classes, especially of the spell casting classes. The physical classes are completely rewritten, redone. But the spell casting classes, the key differences are. Let's see if I remember how this works. Let me go down to the class list. So the Arcanist is our wizard analog. They are knowledge caster. They are a full caster. They have the ability to cast rituals and rites. They are the archetype of arcane. You have a Turnlist, who is the archetype of intuition. They are the cleric analog. They also have the ability to cast rites and rituals. They prepare stuff given to them by the deities, by eternals, by other powers. And then you have the World Speaker, who is the druid analog. They are the pure caster for primordial magic. They can do rites and rituals. They are also an intuition spellcaster. Then you have the. And now, what way was it I was going to do this? Hold on. Let me pull up that conversation because there was an order. There was an order that I made. Where was my random ramblings? Ramblings. Basically, what I'm currently looking at is close that. There is a thing I was considering doing, which basically went. Yeah. So, here we go. I found my notes. So, my current thought is a wizard. We'll use the D&D names because it'll make it easier. A wizard is an int character, caster. A cleric and a druid are a wisdom caster. The paladin and the sorcerer are charisma casters. This, I think, is all reasonable so far. So, then we get weird. An artificer, I am considering making, or my take on the artificer. I shouldn't really say artificer because I kind of am having to design and craft a class from scratch because I can't use it because it's not OGL. But my analog for an artificer, my crafter, is a charisma or intelligence caster. They either use their knowledge to craft or they use their sense of will to craft. A ranger analog will be wisdom or intelligence. They either use their intuition to cast magic or they use their knowledge from their skill monkeying to cast. And then what's the other one? So the only remaining one would be charisma wisdom, which I look at it now and I could go charisma intuition for the paladin, because if they go intuition, they're going for the very clerical method, whereas if they go charisma, they're going for the sense of self. And then bard and warlock get to pick, because a bard, if you think about it, bards are known for their bardic knowledge. They could be using their intelligence to cast, or they could be using their intuition to cast, their experience, their wisdom. So that lets them use their, well, wisdom. Or they use their sense of personality to cast, at which point it is charisma. And the same for warlock, though I view it more as, the reason I would put warlock as an all three caster is, yes, their sense of self, their determination, their sense of an individual could be what's powering their spells, but at the same time it could be that their patron has given them knowledge, or it could be their patron has is kind of just supplying them in the way that a cleric or a druid gets, at which point it would make sense to be a wisdom. So that's currently another change that's going to happen, is basically the half casters and bard and warlock get to break the rules of the casting classes, whereas the pure classes, wizard, cleric, sorcerer, druid, get to stay as one. Obviously, warlock and bard are also pure, so it's basically the pure classes either get to be 1 stat or 3 stat, and then the half casters are 2 stats. And it's not and it's when you pick the class, you go either or, which then allows for interesting things. Yeah, there's a lot of long conversations I've had, which unfortunately are on a private chat with some friends, so it's very much it's it's why, for example, you I've got to look through a lot of stuff. It's why when we get to the classes, it's going to be mad, because I'll be sat there just kind of like, I have to reference a chat, because the joy of having lots of friends who like games design, we all sit there for far too many hours chatting about different bits of games design. So, for example, there is a reason that it's kind of the reason that certain things have happened. Because what will happen is we'll start chatting, and then I'll come up with an idea. Someone will bounce off my idea, another idea, and then it'll bounce backwards and forwards, and eventually it'll be like, oh my god, I've got an entire class idea. So I can kind of go into what the martial classes do, since I've already done the spells. So obviously the spell casting is a bit different. How Inventor is going to work is they will have it's largely going to be partially the inventor won't get worked on really until the crafting system is done, because basically their entire existence is going to be determined on the crafting. Because it makes sense. Why would you have a crafting cast? Why would you have a crafting class for crafting magic items if you don't have a crafting system? So we'll make the crafting system, then we can make the inventor. And the inventor will probably be... It'll probably be something like you get blueprints and you can use those blueprints to design stuff, and you can invent a blueprint, or you can swap blueprints between inventors. And like you'll have your signature invention that is your thing that grows with you, and then what we'll probably do is like give you a separate track of attunement slots that's like, here are magic items that you made. You can attune to these, and they don't count against the normal attunement slots. Assuming we use attunement slots, I'm not 100% sure yet. But if we do use attunement slots, that'll be probably how we get around things. Yeah, not 100% sure yet. The key thing is trying to keep that inventor feel. But I said for that I need to make a crafting system. Bard is going to change by focusing. I kind of want to focus on the kinds of art you can focus on, because the problem is Bard is very much the, oh, you're the music performer. It's like, okay, but what if you don't want to be a music performer? What if you want to be a different kind of performer? And it might be that some of those are reflected in subclasses. It might be they're reflected in classes, class feature. Cleric, the main thing we want to do is simplify the class, take some of the stuff out that are always in class subclasses, and go, listen, if it's always part of a subclass, it should just be part of the class. And the other thing we want to do is try and work on the deities, so it's kind of, you can have your domain, but maybe you can then pick to be part of a you can focus on one deity. You're not necessarily monotheistic, but your focus is on one, or your focus is on a wider pantheon, which then allows you to draw on some minor effects from other deities. Maybe you pick one or two domains. And then also look at how does it work if you're channeling power from not a god, but say a philosophy. Who else is a caster? Oathsworn, the paladin. I don't know really what I want to do with that yet. Probably try to work out more what does oath mean. How do we want to channel oath? Warlock, we want to look at how pacts work. Warlock is probably, of all the classes, the one I have the least issue with. I just want to see if there are ways we could refine it. Realm Walker for Ranger is a complicated mess, but I have some ideas. Because the key thing is you need to keep the travel aspect, but you don't want to do what 5e Ranger did. You want to do something. You don't want to be 5e Ranger, but you don't want to be 5e Tasha Ranger either. You want to be somewhere in the middle. Also given the ability for Ranger to not be a spellcaster, but to be a purely martial class, changing how Hunter's Mark works so it's no longer a spell. Stuff like that. Soul Shaper is going to lean into the body aspect. Basically, subclass changes your body. So Sorcerer's abilities are largely going to be kind of enforcing these, kind of reinforcing these ideas. Psychic is largely going to be what we worked out the Scion to be, with some changes just to make it make sense. Outside of D&D. And then you have Druid, which will probably be be able to swap out Wild Shape for a Familiar, and potion making is my current thought. Having it where that's kind of the big one for Druid. Just trying to help Druid along. Wild shapes will probably be some preset templates rather than just pick a monster. Yeah, Druid will be interesting. I have some. Oh yeah, that's the other thing I want to do with Druid. I want to kind of lean into the elemental planes thing, because we have inner and outer elemental planes. Is the inner elemental planes are kind of, this is a subclass, you're kind of devoting yourself to it, because you have life and wood, which is all about healing, life energy. You have fungi, which is about death and decay. You have metal, and you have thunder. So then you have the outside, which is fire, earth, water, air. And the fire, and earth, water, air, you can kind of focus on one, or you can spread out. So I kind of want to flow that into the elements of the class. And then for the martial classes, the current idea is Battle Channeler, whose entire concept is about channeling more than just rage. I have a good few ideas about that one. That's kind of been the big one that I've been thinking about. Martial artist and warrior. I'm bringing together because kind of the one that they both take a different look at the fighting system. So warrior will be, you effectively form a flowchart, like of your starting action, intermediate actions, finisher, and the longer the chain, the better the finisher effect. And it's all about, you get more AP to form longer chains to do more maneuvers. Whereas the martial artist is about, I do combo moves to get more action, to recover action points to do more, or I get to do more things for less action points. And then you have specialist, which is basically the rogue. And the specialist's thing is, the specialist is the rogue if you consider the rogue as they are a specialist who has chosen stealth as their skill. If you kind of look at it in that sense, the specialist makes complete sense in that it's, you pick a skill, your class is built around that skill. Using that skill to get your big attack off, etc., etc. But yeah, so those are the current ideas. How useful they will be is entirely up in the air, and I half of these classes may disappear because it's like, actually, when I looked at it, it didn't make any sense. But that's the current thought. This is if we're keeping the 5e layout. If we were to try and because the real thing is, I just want to be able to use some of my 5e class design stuff still. So I'm trying to make things they would work with. Or require a minimum effort to translate over. The main problems, the main issues that I currently have is obviously there are some things I've designed that won't be ported over, so I need to work out how best to do them. Whether I can either fit those design concepts into the current classes I've already made, or if I need to make a new class. I'm reluctant to make a new class unless I can really think of something. I have an idea, but I'm not sure if it'll work. Or at least I've no idea if it would work without standing on the toes of another class, at which point I sit there going, okay, why don't I just make it an optional feature of the class that currently exists? So I need to think. I need to think. Very long and hard. But yeah, so that's where we are class-wise, as I said. So what do we want to do here for altered? For altered, my current thought is... See, the problem is, if I give... you can ignore the first minor harmful condition you take in a turn. Harmful concepts, sorry, you take in a turn. In a game, sorry, in a combat. In a combat, that's the word we're looking for. If you get to ignore the first every combat, that means you're getting a 10% hit point reduction for free. I could make it once per short long rest. How have we done Relentless Endurance? Is it once per long rest, once per short rest? Once per long rest. Yeah, we could do it once per long rest. So... okay, so something to do with dealing with a wounded condition, something to do with marked consequence, something to do with remembering the past. Yeah, we have some cool concepts there. Let's look at constructed. Constructed is going to be a bit different from altered Because effectively, how this is going to work is constructed. Yeah, so how construct is going to work is, instead of it being an addition to your creature type, it's replacement. And then we so let's have a look. So we have given constructs sleep effect, do not need to eat, sleep, drink, breathe, and they're against poison. So what do we give constructed? I think powerful build can be kept. So let's have a look. So I said this bit can go altered form. Altered form can stay. Maybe altered form can stay. Altered mind can definitely go. They won't get any spells from this ancestry, I don't think. Senses, maybe. Survival is a no. So you're definitely a no. 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 You're maybe a no. You're a maybe. You're definitely a no. You're a maybe. You're a maybe. And then three more. So things we can give constructs. Maybe. Things to give the robot. robot. Maybe uh, okay, so let's have a think. So inbuilt tools would be a cool one. Um, you're a machine. You're a machine. Probably need to give them something that lets them be the target of healing. Um, 2, 3, 4. 8 abilities we have to come up with. Make a powerful build that can maybe allow for an inbuilt weapon. Separate inbuilt tool. You've already got kind of the armor thing going on. We've already got enhanced senses. Hmm. What else? What else can we give a machine? Robots. Let's think about robots. What tropes do the robot have? What tropes do the machines have? What tropes do the beep boops have? Part of the thing, when you think about it, part of the weirdness of how we've done Ancestry is because you have to pick a template. It's like I could go, oh yeah, you can have the thing belonging to a different ancestry, but it's like, yeah, but technically you get that anyway. Like if you go, I'm a dragon and a robot, I can get a breath weapon. I don't need permission for that. Um, I'm just perusing, purveying thing. I am just going on TV tropes and looking up robots and seeing what comes out of it. So a common thing is learning a task. I guess pre-programmed instructions. I've tried to avoid things like that, but it would kind of make sense for the robot. I guess to a degree, the line you could use is everyone else kind of learns. Robots might be pre-taught. Um, ooh, spaces to hide things. To hide items. Yeah. That works. Um, go to the default. Well, I guess I could go with the mammalian version. Where's the mammalian version? So we're going to weapon, inbuilt tools. They could be combined together if I come up with too many ideas. Space to hide items. Uh, Actually, resilient mind works for machines. Really, I can't really justify them being both. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 still. I've got with one more I can go. This is a 10 trait template rather than more. Because technically you are getting no sleep and you're getting no magical sleep and you're getting poison resistance and stuff automatically. So I could just simply go, okay, you get one more trait, which is pretty reasonable. Was that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? So then this should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah. So if I could come up with one more, that would at least give us 10 things. I could easily add more if I think of more later. Okay, yeah, that's cool. Let's see if we can come up with 5 more. So what would... Let's have a look. 5 more. Can we come up with 5 more? Um, Yeah, so my current. Okay, yeah. So, yeah, so I think inbuilt weapon should be something different. Uh, there were some funky ideas now. I'm finally thinking about robots reasonably. I'm trying to think of ways to keep robots unique. Because, as I said, altered have the thing of you are modifying you're modifying an ancestry really to having traits of other things. Constructed, you're trying to make them a robot, which means to a degree you don't want a mirroring of effects. Because the altered thing is you're taking traits from different animals to modify you. Constructed is you're taking the aspects of machines. Um, but the aspects of machines is tied to the elemental planes. So do we consider primordial magic potentially as something that's given? What we could do. I'd rather come up with something else other than spells, but we could, if we need to, easily do druidic magic. But I'd like to see if I can come up with something different. Hmm, let's think. Yeah, because my current thought is okay. So, okay, that can go here. Because what we would do is we'd make it a choice-based thing, which that means we have the room for two more traits. Robots. Let's go back to tropes. Oh, that's the thing I should consider. You, you, yes, you. Uh, um, here we go. Yeah, okay. Oh, that's something we can do. We can do. Uh, that's the thing we could do. We could do. Yeah. Yes. Yes. So that kind of works. Let's have a think. What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? But I'm getting a lot of history about roots. Turing test, ambiguous robots, American robot, the Astro clone. Dear God, there's a lot of there is a lot of robot tropes. Some of this just sounds hilarious. Okay. What was I thinking of? I had a thought. Ba-ba-ba-ba-bum. I'm not quite sure. It's like that bit where you're on the precipice. You have just a couple more abilities to do, and then it's like, what the fuck do I do here? maybe... What if we went with easy repairable? So, not that they can take healing magic, but that if you can get a replacement part, you can effectively nullify a harmful concept. Now, it may take some time, depending on what the piece you're replacing is, to be replaced. But, oh, that's what I was going to look up. I remember now. Is that the one? This is the one. This is the thing I wanted to look at. Where are we? Here we go. Robots, robots, robots. Do you have a thing that is inspiring? Ooh, that's the thing we could look at is we've done a heavy build. What about okay, yeah, so we have a plan for robots. We have a plan for the robots. Oh god, death touched. Oh, this is going to be interesting because death touched is basically all of the undead options. So, we need to make it that you can play a vampire. Or I guess they tend to call them Dampier when it's a player option, but basically play a vampire, player ghost, basically player options to kind of let you live the Deadite life. Oh, yeah, from here it gets weird because it's basically here's all the death options, here's the weird psychic dream options, here's the elemental plane options. Basically, here are all the options for when something supernatural does a fucky wucky. So death will definitely get a resistance to necrotic damage. Oh, this is when we can introduce the concept of the tithe. Yes. So one thing I've been considering is because we, in the cosmology that we are assuming as the default for the purposes of writing rules that players can then choose to ignore, is when you die, you go to the realms of death. Anyone from the realm of death can cross over to the back to the material realm, but in doing so, they can only do so for a set period of time before they automatically just die, at which point they are afflicted with the tithe. And the tithe is something that is keeping you here. So if you, yeah, because this is great. This word, you, what we'll probably do is we'll let you have. Yeah, effectively the tithe. What it'll probably have is all of like if you are someone who has died and come back, or you are someone who in their backstory has a strong tie to the realm of death. When you fail your tithe so many times, you automatically you die and return to the realm of the dead. But maybe have the option of like if you are a character that is alive and merely has absorbed some of the energies, you'll be exhausted, or you won't be able to use abilities. And effectively different abilities will require you add to your hunger, which then requires you to answer the tithe. Yeah, that's my current thought. And then obviously you get like some vampire traits, some zombie traits, some ghost traits, some insert other undead here traits. You get a dead thing traits. Which would be cool. Dream, I'm not 100% sure yet. The concept of dream is that the entities of dream themselves are born of emotions and feelings and well dreams. So it definitely being dream touched will give you resistance to psychic damage. It'll probably give you some brain stuff, so we'll probably add in psychic powers and telepathy. I'm not sure from there. Because basically, dream is weird. Probably you have weird interactions with sleep, or you don't need to sleep because you are literally made of the stuff of dreams. I don't know. Have to think about it. Have to think about what dreams are. Element touched is fairly easy. It's just like have some fire traits, water traits, air traits, earth traits, maybe thunder, fungi, wood, and metal traits. Easier time casting primordial magic. Um, Fey touched will be things like uh, Luck of the Fae, Curse the Fae, maybe weird stuff to do with, I don't know, what Fae have we not covered? It's kind of like you've got to have met a Fae and then either made them happy or pissed them off, and then you're Fae touched. So it's kind of like it's not intended for the Feyborn. Um, Heavens Touched is very much. If we were going D&D, it'd be like Azamar. Basically, you're going to get your resistance to radiant damage. You get Angel Wings, Angel Halo, covered in eyeballs, other stuff like that. Gotta kind of think about how the Hell Eternals work when I think about this, but yeah. Basically, it's you get the angelic traits, then you get the Mass Touched, which is just going to be tieflings. Tieflings plus some. Which probably means I have to start thinking about what the 13 bloodlines are. Oh, God, the 13 bloodlines. Yeah, that one's going to be interesting. Heavens and Masks needs me to actually think about what is what is a devil? What is a demon? What is an eternal? What is the nature of reality? Is it but a plot chicken? Outside Touched is basically Eldritch Body Horror, the template. A bit, I guess you could kind of go, it's akin to Altered, but it's not Altered. That's the other thing I should probably know is they will probably include languages, the touched ones. You probably know how to speak the language of the thing that's either helping or harming you. And then where touched is just it's the lycanthrope options. It's not full lycanthropy. It's been distilled a bit, but which will be the easiest because it's just pick your were animal. What I might do is say, for example, I don't know, you get a maximum of 2 or 3 template traits from the where one. Maybe where touched costs 2 ancestry features, but it's like, hey, here's how this works. You get, you spend the 2 ancestry feature choices, you get this template, and then you can pick, I don't know, 3 template features, and that is your were creature. When you shift into a were creature, this is the traits that you are given as effect. Have fun, kid. Because that's the thing, the templates themselves don't. The way I'm imagining it is Ancestry is very much like race options in traditional D&D. You know, you pick the thing, you pick some options, that's it. Those options will give you some cool abilities. The the templates is where we get more interesting because each template is effectively you playing with the metaphysic. So, for example, you might get things like Fey Touch, where it just flatly goes, you can't take this if you're a Fey, because you're already a Fey. You may get something like Death or Where Touched, where their entire thing is here is an entire game mechanic that is hidden behind this template. The moment you unlock it, you start to be affected by them. Because that's the thing. There is nothing to stop a game guide from giving a template to a player partway through the game. Because I had a player once who was playing a Minotaur, and he fucked up. He died, and a character brought them back, and they brought them back as a Warforged. Now, if I was to do this, well, I go, okay, cool. That's your character. You are playing a Minotaur, so you're playing a mammalian. Cool. You're playing a mammalian. Here is your template. Now, the construct template strictly says one of your creature types, you've only got humanoid, is replaced with construct. So you're now entirely a construct. You're entirely a machine. Let's pick some traits. You already had these, so I'm going to pick for you this. We'll go 3 traits. This is now applied to your character. You could die and come back, and at that point it's like, yeah, you don't get a choice here. You have to take the tithe. You have to maintain it this way, and I will let you pick so many features to come back with. You made a deal with the Fae. You're now Fae touched. You, as a druid, I don't know, took a specific course of action that now mean you are element touched. That'd be cool, actually. Because I was trying to work out how to make it interesting to not pick one, to go down the one element path. Maybe partway through down the one element path you get element touched. That could work. Get some element touch template. You make a deal with the devil, you get a mask touched features. You make a deal with a celestial, you get some heaven touched features. You can pick a template as part of character generation to reach the idealized form of this thing you are trying to do. I mean, I would pick for this, for a Strixhaven campaign I'm doing, I'm currently playing a Warforged who is kind of a draconic appearance, like a Dragon Forged, for those of you who know your Ebron stuff. Not using the Dragon Forged stat block, just they're Warforged with just draconic features. I would probably actually go with Dragonborn, take the construct template, which would mean I get less features. But considering you're a Dragonborn, you don't get many features anyway, so actually it would work out. And I would probably take from this list. Christ, I don't know what I would take. I might take the thing that maybe gives a skill mastery or a skill to put into performance. I may take, and then take Dragon Breath. And then at 5th level, when I got some more features, I don't know, I might take, I'd either take one of the movement speeds, maybe, or I might take, like, Dragon Wings, I don't know, a flip. I don't know what I would take. But the key thing is I get kind of this, the character would be interesting. It would kind of give me, this would let me kind of take that character where I went, Warforged is deliberately nondescript, so here is a bunch of aesthetic stuff to apply to a Warforged. It's like, this would actually let me go, okay, yeah, no, literally, here is some stuff to reinforce that idea. And that's kind of what I want. I want this reinforcement of ideas that, this is your character, you get choices. I'll probably have a feat that will let you get 1 or 2 more ancestry feature choices of an ancestry you have. Probably 1, so I think maybe 2, I don't know. Because what that would, if you were a mono ancestry, that would be 7 choices out of 10. As long as you're all not taking the same ancestry and the same feat, you might be able to get away with everyone not being perfectly identical. But even with some of them, you get choices, so it isn't ever going to be perfectly identical. And then you have templates over the top. So, but yeah, that's why I've made templates. Templates are kind of, they are both something that can occur during game and something that can occur during character gen. And I actually really like the idea now I think about it, because kind of you can go, because then the game guide has stages, you know, they can go, okay, here is a touched template that I'm going to apply to your character. You can continue down your path and you'll probably get like the more, you know, this is a thing that's going to affect your character, and it's like cool. And then if you really dive in, what you might get is, I would be tempted to recommend, if you're doing like a horror game or a dark fantasy game, I believe Grim Hollow, they're called, did stuff where like they went, hey, are you a lycanthrope? Here is like a much more interesting and horrific lycanthropy system than what core D&D uses. So I could see like you start with a template, you then jump to something that's like what you would find in the monster manual, like here is actual lycanthropy or here is actual vampirism, and then like you have the Grim Hollow of here is you've just dived into the darkness and it's horrifying. But kind of like you could use templates as a starting point of just, you know, it's light, it's you're not giving in too deeply to whatever force is applying an effect upon your soul, mind, body, and soul. Unless you want to go deeper, and then at which point we will slightly change how the mechanics work. But by being somewhat light and editable, it's more likely that these could be used in any table. And then the more in-depth stuff are stuff that a game guide can then choose to add on, layer on top, such as proper lycanthropy, such as more in-depth monster stuff, if a player goes down that route. And if the game guide wants the game to go down that route. Well, my voice is beginning to go, so I am thinking we are probably going to call it there because we've been going for nearly 2 hours. I would like to thank everyone for coming and everyone for joining. And I think we'll see you next time.